Hi, I'm Mike Thompson. Well, I'm through my second batch of beer right about now, so it's time to start thinking about batch number 3. It's going to be a 5-gallon hef, but before I do that, I want to do a little experiment, because what I would like to do ultimately is brew a whole bunch of 1-gallon batches just to kind of see, well, do I like this kind, do I not? And that way I can experiment with recipes and stuff. So in order to do that though, I need lots of 1-gallon little fermenters. Well, I want to do a little experiment and see if I can use 1-gallon water jugs. We go through a lot of these between our beta fish and Ollie's humidifier. And so these are obviously food grade because, I mean, they're storing consumable water. So I figure they're going to be fine. But I don't want to experiment on a large volume either because then I'll have wasted all my grains. So what I'm going to do first is see if I can make a hard cider. Well, here's my cider. So I'm going to put some yeast in it and see what happens. Now, there is no headspace in this whatsoever, so I'm going to pour off about 8 ounces down to here or so that I have a little bit of room for the fermentation to take place, because this thing is just going to make a mess, I have a feeling. And so what I'm going to do is poke a hole in the top, install a blow-off tube, a lot like I did with my little airlock here. This, of course, was slightly over-engineered. I've got a fitting here to hold the tube on, and this fitting keeps it in a loop. You could, of course, just simply poke a hole, jam the tube in there, and then use a hose clamp or something to make this little airlock. Fill it with sanitizer and you're good to go. This is a lot cheaper, and I think this is going to work just fine. But first, I'm going to poke a hole in the top of this, and then make a blow-off tube inside a bucket of sanitizer, because this is going to get clogged up, I have a feeling. It's only a 1/4 inch poly tubing, and so I don't have any faith in that. So let's go ahead and get started making some hard apple cider the easy way. So I'm pouring off about 8 ounces here because I really need a little bit of headspace and room later to pour the priming sugar back in for bottling. I've got some, I was going to use champagne yeast, but they had cider yeast, so I'm using cider yeast. Now I need to figure out exactly how much is in here by volume, so I'm going to pour it into this little medicine cup that Ollie let me borrow, and then I'm going to spoon it back in to see how much, because this will make up to 6 gallons of cider. I only have 1, so I only need a 1/5 or a 1/6 of this, really. So it ends up, you'll see here, I'm going to save that as long as I can in the fridge. I've got some bleach here in some water as sanitizer this time. I'm trying not to use Star San because I want to see if this works. Then I'll poke a hole here in the top from a blow-off tube to go into, and then I'll insert that. I've got a bowl of water for now, and look at that, after only an hour you can already see the bubbling. It's going crazy, wow. And here it is in the cup, and you can see it bubbles every, couple seconds, and it's pushing against a pressure of about 4 inches water. And then after 2 weeks, I'll siphon it here over into my secondary fermenter, like so. That goes pretty quick. And then there'll be, about 8 ounces of space left over in this, which then I'll have to pour some water and priming sugar in here later when it goes time to bottle in a few more weeks. So far, so good. Twist on my little there it goes. Twist on my little airlock, and now I'll measure the final gravity. 1.004. Well, it's kind of bubbly still. Interesting. It's been fermenting for 2 weeks. And now we're secondary fermenting here for at least another week. It smells okay. Well, how about that? Huh. I'd say that worked. I'm trying to decide if I like it. I'm never really had a lot of hard cider, maybe once or twice ever. And I'm not really a big cider fan to begin with, but that's not half bad. Okay, so obviously fermenting directly inside the bottle from the store works just fine. And if the secondary fermentation and clarification works okay in this water jug, then I'm going to say I can go ahead and probably ferment my hef inside these. and then I'm going to start just saving all these 1-gallon jugs to experiment with recipes. But for hard cider directly out of fermentation after 2 weeks, that's not bad. Go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already. I'm Mike Thompson, and thanks for watching. I really appreciate it.